Next up is this Drown Massano remix. And this one was a really tough one to figure out, and that's simply because this kind of acid sound typically comes from the Roland TB303, and that's probably what they used for this, but I'm not really sure what synth they used, and each synth that you try this on will sound completely different. Just the character of the filter sounds so different. So this does sound slightly different to the original if you compare them side by side, but the general process of creating it probably was very similar to what I've done, and I guess the sound is kind of similar. So I tried out every single stock Ableton synth for this, and the only one that could actually get the sound out of it was analog. Wavetable doesn't even at all make the kind of filtered drive that you're hearing. So yeah, let me take you through the sound. Okay, so I'm just going to turn off the filter and oscillator. So we're starting off with just a saw wave, and it's at a really low octave. It's playing that low D. Let's jump back to this one. So yeah, we're starting with this low D note, and this is what the MIDI looks like. And oh, let me turn all of this off. Okay, and we're adding in a second oscillator here, which is pitched 1 octave up. Here you can see plus 12 semitones. And then we're going to be going into this filter, and the filter is doing most of the magic. Just to quickly show you, the amp envelope I have a decay of 6.29 seconds, and that was just because I was tweaking so much, but it doesn't actually sound any different to having the sustain at 1. So you could just set the sustain to 1 and you don't have to worry about the decay. Alright, so here is where the magic happens with the filter. Okay, so how this works is you have basically a filter. If we can just visualize a filter, like the auto filter here, and as it follows the shape of this envelope, it's doing this basically. It's just opening and closing. But how you get that really nice character, that distortion, is by using filter drive. You can see there's filter drive modes over here. You can add like MS2 and different ones on auto filter, but that's not super important because we're not even using the auto filter. I'm just using this to describe what's happening with the filter. So here we're cranking the resonance up on this by using this res mod. So that's set to 3.61. And that's increasing the resonance when the filter's fully open. And then as this automates back down or modulates back down, the resonance is decreasing. And we have a ton of drive on it. And so it's distorting everything at the cutoff point. And that's basically the thought process for making this sound. And that's what we've done here. So this filter has different drive models here, and they basically increase in intensity as you go through them. So you can hear it's not very intense, a lot more intense, and that's probably the most intense. And I found this one just had the nicest character for the sound. Okay, so we bring the frequency down to 70, and that just means that the filter is going to be at 70 hertz at its lowest point, and then at its highest point, well, I don't know what it's going to be. The envelope amount is just set to 3.02. So if I bring this down, we're not hearing any filter movement. As I move it up, we start hearing a lot of filter movement. And you can hear how much just adjusting this envelope amount affects the character of the sound. You get like completely different tones out of it. So, I mean, I probably sat here for like 2 hours just playing with all these different settings, playing with the attack and the decay, the envelope amount, the res mod amount, and every slight adjustment you make completely changes the sound. So you really got to like sit there and just tweak and tweak and tweak until you're happy. Okay, so the resonance is set to 7%, and how we're controlling it and boosting it up at the top of this envelope is by using this envelope amount here, res mod envelope amount. So as I move that up, you'll hear the resonance increases and therefore the distortion increases. And I had that at 3.02, I think. Yeah. 3.61. Okay, so the attack and decay settings are super important. You'll hear if I adjust these at all, it changes the sound completely. And same with the sustain, you'll get like a very different character out of it. Okay, and then I think that's it for the synth portion of it. Next we go into this EQ8, and that's just boosting the high end a little bit. Can barely hear the change. And then this overdrive helps quite a lot, and that's going to be distorting the sound once again, like the entire signal. So that makes it like really nice and dirty. And the dry wet's at 16% here, the drive's at 48%. Then EQ8 is taking out some of that nastiness down in the low end. Just cleaning it up. Doing some more cleaning up. And then we saturating it. And then we're going into delay. So the delay, just need to basically play with this to cut out all the high end. So just moving it around in here. And then the left and right are unlinked, and then you have 4 and 3. So the left and right are doing different things. And then we have a reverb over here. And you're basically just making this reverb nice and dark by using this input EQ over here and the diffusion EQ over here. Just reducing the low end and a bit of the high end. And then the decay time's 9 seconds, the size is 74, and the dry wet's at 12%. Okay, then some final EQing. Just to take out a bit more of that like muddiness. Could maybe reduce this a little bit. And that's it for this entire sound. Thanks for watching, I hope you learned a thing or two, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.